All right. Welcome to Why on Earth, everybody. We got a special guest today, someone Marquise and I have been very excited to have on, and someone we've been wanting to have on for quite some time. We finally have him on. He's an incredible guy. He's an extremely talented chef and content creator. His name is Chef Mikie. Chef Mikie, thank you for coming on. Tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Mikey Miller, and I am a chef. I was working in the restaurant industry for like 10 years, and I always kind of like grew up as an athlete. So I would say that in general, I thought I was really health-minded. But then as I got older, and then I realized I abused my body a lot by being in the restaurant industry. And, we just grow up as kids. I'm 32. So I kind of grew up very much in the area of like, not for a while it was like not the internet, and we didn't have the information, so like my parents were just giving me whatever. It's not their fault, it's just they didn't have the information either. So I was, in every way possible, I felt like I was just abusing my body and not taking care of my health, even though I thought I was. I was like wrestling competitively, and my coaches would be like, this is the type of nutrition that you need, and these are the things that we should follow. And literally, like, none of it's right. Looking back on it now, over the last couple of years, that I've just kind of like been a psychopath about it. And it honestly just came to a head because my whole body just started to fall apart. I started to experience like brain fog. I didn't have energy. My hormones were like out of whack. I mean, I actually, growing up, I had hypothyroidism, and then I eventually didn't need to take the pill. I kind of got on track, but I still kind of feel like, I've had them checked, but I feel like years ago that still kind of came back and always played a factor, and always can be a factor. So I just like dove straight in and had to diagnose like what was going on for myself, especially because at that time, like, I didn't have health insurance or anything. So I just became a freak about it. And I've always like strived to learn more in general. And then, when I turned everything around, I'm a completely different person in every single way than I was back then. And so then I started to just be like, create content, because I wanted to help so many other people, but you can't like force people to understand. You can't force people to be ready unless they're ready. So it's kind of like a little way to do that without shoving it down people's throats. And also I love talking about it. I do like helping people. So that's generally where my focus is now. I haven't been in restaurants for, I'd say like over 4 years now. And even then it was meal prep. It was doing healthy meal prep, which, by the way, was also the person that owned that company wasn't doing it right either. Like, it was just based off of completely calories in versus calories out model. And like, we were buying shit quality food, Can we curse on here?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Our moms might not approve, but
Your
we're grown
mom?
men. I said our moms. We're grown men. Go ahead.
My mom has been, I think, upset with me a little bit over the things I've been saying lately. But yeah, that's a different story. But yeah, I mean, there's so much wrong in the health space, and it can be just so like convoluted and misrepresented. And that's that ties back into what we're talking about with the government. I just don't believe, conspiracy theories aside, I just don't think that we're in a place anymore where we can trust anything they say, because they're humans and they have no idea what they're talking about either.
Right.
Coming from China, and then the World Health Organization, and whether like China was implicit with like everything that they were trying to say or what they knew, everything's been wrong. And then it goes to Trump. Every statement that they've made has been incorrect, or they've like modified it along the way. It's been an insane thing, like, and we've just been slowed down to be able to like watch it all unfold like over time. And it's like clear now more than ever, not just is like our health important and we have to take care of our immune system, but also just like I don't trust anything you hear. It's not to say that they're going to be wrong all the time, but you have to dig more.
Right. So how do you navigate that? How do you navigate truth from false facts or false news or false information? How do you go through that process and find what is truth, or at least what is factual to that would be beneficial to you?
Yeah. Honestly, it takes so long. I've another reason why I've kind of like formulated my entire career around this is because it's like I'm almost getting paid, reimbursed, and then I have like the gratitude of helping people because it takes so long. So I've found a way to mingle that into my everyday life. It's like my mom's always like, how do you know all this shit? How do you remember all of it? But she's not doing the same things as me. She's like, my mom and my dad, they're getting better and better, but they're like the average person that they sit around and they don't do as much. They're not as like active. They're like consuming more of the mainstream type stuff. And they kind of like get their information from me, but I have, it's my career. So I'm just putting the time and effort in. So it kind of comes down to time. Just like anything, and you're trying to like learn something new, you have to have an open mind. So it's like, and I catch myself in loops with this all the time. I have a certain belief system when it comes to like health and nutrition. But sometimes if I'm like getting triggered by something, I'm like, okay, well, chill, look at it from their perspective. You could still be right. They could still be wrong, but like hear it out first. And it's just like, what another example is clickbait titles.
Mm-hmm.
People see clickbait titles. They don't read the articles. They for sure don't go to like the PubMed studies, the actual published studies, to see what it is, because the jargon's hard to read.
Mm-hmm.
It's very lengthy. Again, it takes so much time. So people just kind of like take everything for granted and take it not, with a grain of salt. It's I would say that it's just like you need to be questioning everything.
Yeah. And nobody is infallible. That's the thing, is we think Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, our surgeon generals, these quote unquote experts are fallible or infallible, that
Right.
they're untouchable, that they're what they say is the end all be all, and that we just have to follow suit. And that goes against everything that I believe. I think, and as well as you, is just like, no, we're supposed to question everything. And that's what science is. It's a theory, a statement of sorts, and then the questioning of that and trying to prove it wrong, not trying to prove it right, trying to prove it wrong.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing that. We're hearing words from infallible beings and just taking it as fact.
Yeah. And then once you grab a hold of something that you may already believe, you tend to search for the same answer just to confirm that bias. And with algorithms doesn't help, because it's just like showing you what you want to see, but it's just showing you the things you've already seen and doubling down on it, basically. So it's kind of becoming, unless you're conscious of it and you make the effort, it's kind of hard to actually see new things. You have to be in pursuit of new knowledge and new perspective.
It's kind of a catch. It's a catch-22, because to your point, like, you're trying to learn this yourself. It takes so much time. You're trying to create content for other people. You can't make them digest this information. They got to be ready for it and just go looking for it. So what I appreciate about what you're doing is the fact that you're just like learning for yourself, creating the content, writing articles, videos, whatever it is. And then whenever people are ready, that resource will be there for them. And that's such a selfless thing to do, but also obviously a little selfish, because it's fulfilling you as well. But yeah, good work.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, it's a give and take. I mean, you should be rewarded for your work, regardless if you want to give. I think about all the time, like, do I want to come out with like a tiered system with things that I offer? I put out some of my, all of my best information right now, at least, because I'm kind of in the beginning stages of building of a brand. I've had a little bit of success, but I'm not, where obviously I would like to be. So it's like I'm putting out all of my best information for free to try to separate myself from the people that are doing similar things, but they're infinitely further ahead than me. So, but then I think about, do I want to put out my information for free? And that's a hard thing because I think knowledge and information should be free in many ways. I don't really want to make people pay for things, especially when it comes to their health, when it can benefit them so greatly, maybe save their life. I don't really want to make people pay, but you also have to earn a living. And then that money, you just kind of have to think about that money is just going to go back into the system and create more value for them anyway. So at the end of the day, people will support you if they see, meritocracy always kind of like rules all. Yo, chill. How unprofessional.
But also like I think the marketing strategy of of giving away your best information for free is, I don't know, maybe 3 people out of 100 are actually going to take that information and use it to benefit them. The rest are going to be like, oh, that's great information. You'll get a certain percentage that'll follow you because maybe they don't understand it, or maybe they do, but they're like, oh, that's great information. And you start to build a brand through that, or a community through that. But yeah, most people are not going to take your best information and be like, I need to use this. This is incredible stuff. So no, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's, I love seeing your videos. For those of you that don't know, Mike he's got a YouTube. What's your YouTube channel?
All my platforms are Real Chef Mikie. Mikey spelled Mikie.
Yeah. And what is your overall goal with what it is that you're doing, or your purpose with the brand that you're building, the YouTube channel, the cooking, the information on nutrition and health?
I would say as of now, I feel like I'm always kind of figuring that out as I go, and I just try to keep things in motion. But I think for me, it's like getting people to understand how important food is for you. So it's not just like learning how to cook. It might be easy to like see that on the surface. Okay, we're learning, it's fun, it's a creative kind of thing, it's good for your brain, whatever, you're learning new things, it's fun. But it's also it's showing people like what we have lost along the way, which is our connection to food, which is, you could argue it, but I don't think you have a real argument. It's the most important thing for our vitality and for living. It's not just like providing us with nutrients and today and like being able to sustain life. It's not just about calories and macro and micronutrients, but it's also, again, with Corona, it's our preventative medicine and it is our medicine. It's everything that we need. It's like that, between that and sleep, they're by far the most important things that we need to be doing. There's obviously a million other that will benefit you as well, but food is everything. And I don't know, it's just ever since like World War II maybe, and the advent of just like processed bullshit, everything's in a box. Again, it's like these generations that we are coming through. It just takes a long time for that pendulum to swing back and people to realize. But I hope that these kind of these situations will not just make us like question the government, but also realize how important that is for us to be eating well. I always just try like to simplify. It's just, I try to tell people to understand, like, we don't live natural lives at all anymore. So like, if you think about hunter gatherers, all of our ancestors, we wouldn't ever be indoors, deprived of light, like susceptible to all the fake artificial light. We wouldn't be eating bull crap, like just go to the store and buy like box stuff. Like, we live completely separate lives than our ancestors have evolved to. And like, evolution doesn't happen that fast. So we're just suffering right now. So it's between all of those things, it's like lock in your circadian rhythms with the sleep and the sunlight. You exercise. If you exercise outside, that's even better. Eat well, and then just avoid like stress. The blue zones avoid stress so well, and just include like community and love. It's all so simple. It's like you really only have to get super granular if you have a lot of issues. Like, you're having issues, then you go for extreme results. But it should be a lot more simple than we make it. And so that's the thing. It's like, if you become a better cook, it's great. You're going to be eating better. You're going to be able to like bring people together. There's so much aspects about like love and community around food. But in that same token, in regards to like people sticking to their diet, sometimes it's so hard for people to do that. They want to like cheat, because I think most people can't cook for shit. So when you learn, and I know like both of you guys cook, right? Pretty well.
Yeah.
Or just like at minimum enjoy food a lot. You have such a better connection with where things are coming from, and you appreciate it. And that alone is going to benefit your health. So when you become a better cook, you can make everything taste good. Everything that you eat at a restaurant, everything that you're cheating on, if you can become a really good cook, you can figure out how to make that with better ingredients at home. It's an absolute no-brainer. So if you become a better cook, you're not going to want to cheat. That's the way I feel.
Because it's about flavor, isn't it? For a lot of people, it's the craving of a flavor. And if you can create that through a vegan meal or using better ingredients, then you don't need to have that McDonald's or hot Cheetos or whatever.
Dude, it's like the McDonald's, bun aside, there's certain, so if you break down real quickly, like a Big Mac, mayonnaise isn't bad for you in moderation. And if you're using like avocado oil and you're using like free range egg yolks, that's not a bad thing. A grass-fed burger, there's nothing wrong with it. If you make your own sourdough at home, or you just work with a baker that's using, organic ingredients, and you purchase a sourdough bun, that's a way to like limit glycemic variability, and you're not getting crushed. It's like pre-digested because you have, instead of using yeast for sourdough, you have like a pre-digested form of gluten. So it's easier on your system to digest. Every element of a burger, a Big Mac burger, can be broken down if you know what you're doing, and you can create it at home for like a cheap meal, but it's not going to be like, it's not going to crush you as much as it would, and it's not just, you could still probably make it with like 10 to 15 ingredients rather than 150, it's absurd.
What about you, Mike? How did you start your morning this morning? Or if today wasn't a good day, yesterday or whatever day, like what's a typical morning look like for you
just in general, or with regards to like food or eating? Does it matter?
That's what I mean. In regards to food.
I'm not as crazy as I used to be. I used to be super strict when it comes to like intermittent fasting windows, and I would be like, oh, even if this thing has like 1 gram of carbohydrate, I'm not going to eat it or drink it till 12. Like now I wake up and I drink like a lion's mane tea from Four Sigmatic, and that has like 1 gram of carbohydrate. But the first thing I do is just drink a ton of water, and I'll put like Redmond sea salt in it, like quality sea salt that has minerals, because I'm using like reverse osmosis water, which is pure, but it's also like dead form of water. There's no minerals or anything in it. The ideal thing would be to have like a real filter, and you can get a remineralizer depending on your system, but I don't have that right now. So I use sea salt. Salt and sodium in general is super important. So that's going to jumpstart your brain. And then from there, like I kind of immediately go into a routine where I'm like remembering dreams. I'll journal, do a bunch of stuff like that, just move, get my heart rate up. And then from there, like I said, I'll have that tea. I don't stress about that tea anymore, even if it's just like the littlest bit of a carbohydrate. I kind of just go off of my hormones, my hunger hormones, how I'm feeling. If I'm hungry or thirsty, whatever, I just kind of like go as the flow goes. I'm not as crazy as I was before, but then, so usually it's like 10:30. I haven't eaten. Right before this, I had a little bit of bone broth, something super light, because that's a perfect example, because normally my hormones are pretty like in check, and I'll do like a traditional like 16/8 fasting window or whatever. But last night I was with some friends, and again, I'm not as much of a psychopath as I used to be. So like my friend made, brown rice dish and with like curry and who knows what. I don't know what she put in it, but it was like friends and community. And so, I'm not going to like turn that down. And then I was up later than usual. So I didn't get the best night of sleep, but I'm just doing what I can to like adjust along the way. If you don't sleep well, you're going to be more hungry because your brain's tired. So it's going to be like, give me calories. So I don't always just resist that and be like, oh, I have to meet my window. I'll give myself what I feel like I need in the moment. So.
Yeah, but like you said, you had a very rigorous routine in the beginning, and sometimes that's what it takes is creating, this may not be the right term, but muscle memory for your body, and how in creating that routine and being very strict on something or a way of life. And then that's not always necessary in life if you want to enjoy life. And so then you re-implement it in different ways and find a thing or system that works for you.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, routines are so important because it creates so much freedom, and it prevents you from falling back into shitty habits. Everybody like has a routine. A lot of people just don't think about it, and they're just bad habits.
Right.
But creating a good routine that you can fall into, and it's autonomous, and you don't think about shit. If it's possible to be extremely strict and rigid, which I have been in the past, and people are like, "How do you do it?" But I'm like, I don't even think about it because I just fell into it. I grew up honestly like with wrestling growing up. I I didn't eat very much because it's terrible for you. But back then, like no one gave a shit. No one really cared or considered the long-term effects. So I was like cutting weight, not eating.
What was your healthy weight that you sat at, and then what would you have to cut down to?
I honestly, so like most of my life, I didn't really cut weight because I was just always a smaller individual.
Right.
And I was always kind of like playing catch up. But then when I got to high school and then I made varsity for like 2.5 years before I quit, essentially, that's when they wanted you to, I mean, it's just more competitive, you know? So they wanted me to cut. The year that I quit, I started at like 120 and so I started, then I would drop to 12 for the year. So I was already like cutting weight, 7-8 pounds, let's say. And then at the end of the year for like districts, when things start to really ramp up, they give you an additional like 2 pounds of weight allowance so they can cut. Like fighters are the same that way. As long as it's not like a championship bout, they'll usually give you like a pound weight allowance. It's kind of the same thing. So my coaches wanted me to cut down to what would have been 105. And I got down close. I got to like 106 and I was miserable.
Yeah.
I was sleeping through all my classes. I was failing everything. My brain didn't work. I had zero energy. And there's smarter ways to do that, which fighters now do. Like there's terrific coaches that just specialize in that kind of thing. But back then I wasn't doing any of that. I was like it was complete caloric restriction. It wasn't like water weight. You know, I was eating bullshit cereal with like hormone-filled milk. You know what I mean? It's like I was 17. So
yeah.
I don't think I had a free thinking thought like till I was 25. You know?
Yeah, no, I remember that life, man. I would have to do the exact same thing, but I sat comfortably. I think it was like 130, but I think the weight class is 123 or 124.
Wait,
so
I don't think we've ever had this conversation. I didn't know that you wrestled.
Yeah, I wrestled. Well, I only wrestled 2 years, freshman and sophomore year, and then my coaches hated me, and I did not like them because I wasn't like in the game and strict about it. But when it came to having the next morning to be 5 pounds lighter, it was like, okay, well, I'm not drinking water today. I'm spitting. I'm sweatsuits and going on runs
and then sauna.
And having fiber so that I shit out as much like weight as I can, and then being miserable. And then as soon as you weigh in, eating a fat burrito right before you go on the mat.
Yeah, Smucker's fucking peanut butter and garbage, basically.
Right.
On like a terrible bagel, like.
Yeah, no, it's not a healthy way of doing it. And also, I mean, I wouldn't say that my coaches or, you know, my family had the right information to do it the right way. And we're constantly moving, you know, we're getting more advanced in our way of doing something like that.
Yeah. I mean, like fat was still demonized back then. Like there wasn't a healthy form of fat back then, you know?
Right. And saturated fat, if you saw saturated fat, you're just like, oh my God, I can't eat this because it has saturated fat. But we learn that saturated fats do have its benefits in certain ways.
100%. Yeah. They're very important.
Yeah. But, that's when it just comes down to doing our own research. You know, so doing our own research, and if we want to maintain a healthy lifestyle or bring on a healthy lifestyle, then or something in like a pandemic situation like this, doing our own research so that we can come to our conclusions, find out what works for us, because what works for somebody else doesn't always work for us.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. It's like whatever you need. It's your needs. You know, not every diet. I do think that like for the mass majority of people, like there's probably a general optimal way for us to eat, but there's so much like bioavailability between different people, bioindividuality, and there's so many nuances depending on your, you know, past already pre-existing conditions. You know, even on like an isocaloric diet. Say if you had a twin, and I gave you the same diet with the same amount of calories, but like you guys before that were eating the different things. Like maybe your gut's fucked up and your brother's isn't. You know, you have your own issues. So like, you might, and food allergies and sensitivities. There's so many different aspects to it that like you have to be doing research for your condition.
Yeah. So how can somebody because there's so much information out there about, genetically modified foods and processed foods, and is organic good enough? What kind of foods should we be searching for to at least get a start and start learning?
That's a great point. Like you just said, is organic enough? You don't even know. Like the label, food marketing is so crazy. Like even yesterday, so I started working with Bel Campo Meats, and so I'm doing like preparing some videos for them, and I'm talking about like grass fed kind of things. Is grass fed really worth it? And there's some things that like I'm uncovering I didn't even know. Just the things that they're able to get away with and still put a grass fed label on things. Like you can start an animal on grass for one day, and if it started on grass, you can put grass fed. Now, like the whole grass finish is completely different, but there's even things like there's like a form of modified corn that can still somehow be considered grass. It's the weirdest loophole that I've ever heard. I don't understand it. It's unbelievable. So I think the same thing comes to like mine with organic. You really don't know what an organic burger, organic meat in general, basically kind of just means that like they're following all the practices they need to, and then the inputs are also organic. So like the grains and the corn and whatever, it's like all of those inputs are probably organic where they wouldn't be able to pass. But it doesn't mean that they're not fed all the bullshit. It doesn't mean that they're not like stuck in a terrible pen next to all the other ones, like in their own shit. Like there's a lot of stuff that you don't know, and just because it says organic doesn't mean it's actually like a good thing. So there's definitely like tiers to follow. Even if you're just talking about beef in general, there's definitely tiers that you would go through. Organic is probably, better than non-organic. And then organic grass fed is probably better. And then but the best thing to do is like pasture raised, pasture finished, grass fed, grass finished. There's definitely
finding our local farmers and supporting
small farm. And that's like, I hope that's this whole situation is kind of like shining a new light on that too. Where are all these diseases coming from? There's a lot of evidence. I mean, unless you're a conspiracy theorist, I don't know. But there's a lot of evidence that like all of these diseases, the swine flus, the avian flus, like is this a bat scenario? Is it coming from a wet market? All of those issues wouldn't happen if we're all small farm, regenerative agriculture. We're not monocropping, we're moving the animals around, and it could all coexist. There's like great farmers. Even just recently, like last week, Joel Salatin was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
He's for years and years, like decades, been doing that style farming. And there's a lot more. Bel Campo is one of them. White Oak Pastures on the East Coast. And then you have all these like butcher box companies that are easier to get. They're more accessible now than ever, but they're more important. And people, I try to be really considerate, because like one of the biggest reasons people don't want to like dive in or are reluctant is because of price. And so I try to be sensitive to it, but I think that like people have to reconsider what are your values. Again, coming back to food is the most important thing for preventing illnesses of whatever all cause mortality and just living a sustainable life. People need to come back into that realm and just maybe reallocate whatever they're spending. Like, are you spending money on bullshit, shoes, whatever? Like, enjoy what you want to enjoy.
What price are you willing to pay truly? Right? Like,
it's like
pay with your health or pay with, pay a little extra, or even not. Trader Joe's has great options for just healthier, choices.
And like that's a good stepping stone. Like a Trader Joe's, even a Whole Foods now, it's like whether you like Amazon or not, but like Amazon has dropped prices, and Whole Foods works with, I think it's like Hearst Farms. There's a bunch of like grass-fed options they have. Organ meats are terrific. They're like $7 a pound for grass-fed. And that's like infinite. Like you can get a ribeye for like $30 a pound sometimes. Like there's definitely cheaper ways to go about it, but you have to, it's a whole invest now or pay for it later kind of thing. Like you said.
All right. We gotta cut.
Oh,
this is my baseball sign.
That's your, I was like, what is he doing?
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Why on Earth with the real Chef Mikey. You can follow him on all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, at Real Chef Mikey, spelled Mikie. Mikey is a personal chef, lifestyle coach, and content creator. And we appreciate your presence today, brother.
Thanks, man. So happy to actually do it. I'd love to do it again too.